Now at 6. Calling for change and solutions.
At this moment, we can't just talk about things, we have to do things.
So as the governor launches a task force aimed at reviving downtown Portland, what's on the mayor's wish list?
Plus, no practice or play allowed.
We can't even train on our home field anymore, so it's really weird.
So what's wrong with the turf at Grant High School? And why is the public still permitted on it?
Then, a breath of fresh air today. How you can prepare for the next round of smoky skies.
And the end of an era for the Portland Timbers.
At this point, I believe it's important that there's new leadership and the club moves in a new direction.
New reaction from the locker room as the club and head coach part ways.
Good evening, everyone. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. And we begin with the latest attempt to revive downtown Portland and a new task force chaired by the governor calling for collaboration and change.
So let's get right to Blair Best in the newsroom. Blair, how's this all going to work?
Well, David and Laurel, details are limited at this point. They've only had one meeting so far, but the governor announced this task force about 2 weeks ago. And it's made up of about 40 people, including downtown business owners and city leaders. Now, the task force is broken up into 5 groups focused on issues like homelessness and community safety. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler is a part of it, and today he presented a list of requests, including $21 million to fund his mass-sanctioned homeless camps, along with more money for homeless camp sweeps and a sobering center. Others on the task force see this as a step in the right direction.
I'm just excited that it seems like we're going to get down to business and do something about downtown Portland.
If it were just up to government, we are not going to be successful. We need every Oregonian, every Portlander getting behind, being part of the solution so we can get ahead of this.
Now, we don't have the full details of what was discussed in the meeting today. We are expecting that soon, though. And Governor Kotek believes what will come out of this task force will have a ripple effect on the rest of the state. Now, I also want to point out that they're against a tight timeline. Come December, so roughly 3 months from now, the task force will present their action plan for downtown. Until then, they'll have meetings once a month. David, Laurel.
All right, Blair, another thing that really kind of caught our eye here, the mayor, who of course oversees the Portland Police Bureau, is now asking for nearly 100 Oregon State Police officers to focus on Portland to help combat violent crime, shoplifting, hate crimes, to enforce traffic laws here. Curious how the governor respond to that.
So it's 96 officers to be exact, and he also wants Oregon State Police to open a branch office downtown. Now, the governor says she's not ruling anything out and added that it'll take a group effort to bring back downtown. I will say the mayor came to this first meeting prepared. He had an 8-page wish list, including a commitment from downtown businesses to bring back their workers by January of next year. So we'll see what happens.
A lot of people hoping this task force works. Thank you, Blair.
Well, let's get to your headlines now, starting with a homeless camp along I-405 that has now been cleared. We told you Monday how the camp on Southwest 13th and Main attracts younger campers because the nonprofit Outside In, which works with them, is right across the street. Some campers told us they are on long waiting lists for housing. They don't want to go into shelters, and they plan to return. Though we're learning from homeless advocates tonight that a handful of those young people have moved into the city's first large-scale sanctioned homeless camp, the one in Southeast Portland.
Clackamas County says it is making good progress getting people into housing. Its supportive housing services program has placed 665 at-risk people into permanent housing in the past year. 98% of them have stayed housed. New data released by the county shows the program also helped more than 600 people avoid evictions, provided rent assistance to another 600 plus people, and served nearly 800 people through emergency and transitional shelters. January's count of homeless individuals in Clackamas County was down 30% from last year.
A Woodland man is hoping to get a pricey piece of construction equipment back after someone stole his portable sawmill from a work site this morning near Olympia. Brian Tremblay says he runs a business doing custom millwork, and the mill is essentially his livelihood, or some $85,000.
It's like I lost my family. But dang, I'm gonna have to get a job flipping burgers or something. I'm trying to finish my house.
Well, if you witnessed the theft or spotted Tremblay Sawmill, you're asked to contact Tumwater Police.
Now to fire season and a fast-moving grass fire that could have turned out a lot worse. It broke out last night a few miles northwest of Vernonia. The fire chief there says they typically only have one firefighter working after 6 p.m. However, it just happened that they were having a training session last night, fortunately, so 8 people were at the station and they were able to save homes as the fire burned a steep hillside along Kesey Road. There were some level 3 go now evacuations, but those have all dropped to level 1.
And we've got an update on wildfires burning in Lane County. The Lookout Fire northeast of Eugene has charred another 1,000 acres in the last 24 hours for a total of over 12,000. It remains at 5% containment. Some level 3 evacuation orders are still in place there. To the southwest, crews made progress on the Bedrock Fire, which grew by less than 100 acres overnight. Containment at 35%. All level 3 evacuation orders for that fire have been lifted.
I'm Matt Safino. The smoke has lifted out of western Oregon for the most part, too. A beautiful, beautiful day. The clouds are clearing. Temperatures really pleasant, actually below average for this time of the year. We should be in the low 80s. We topped out in the 70s, and there's actually a few sprinkles in the forecast right here in Portland for tomorrow morning. Don't get too excited. They're going to be really spotty and far, widely scattered, and most of us won't even see it. But we may get one in the morning hours as this weather system moves on shore in the early morning hours. So yes, a sprinkle actually possible. Probably no measurable rain, but we'll take what we can get, right? Then we get a warm up. 90s come back as soon as Thursday. So quick turnaround. And with that, also a chance of a thunderstorm Thursday afternoon, overnight, and into Friday morning, with an interesting pattern developing here across the state of Oregon. More on that in a bit, guys.
Thank you, Matt. And while the smoke has cleared today over the weekend, I know you remember much of the Portland area and beyond suffered through some of the worst air quality we have seen this summer, some of the worst air quality in the world. That smoke rode in on a north wind from Canada, where they're experiencing their worst ever wildfire season. Nearly 38 million acres have burned so far, more than doubling the previous record, with hundreds of out of control fires burning from the border to the Arctic Circle.
All right, let's bring in meteorologist Joe Ranieri now. Joe, how is it looking across our area for the next few days?
Well, for right now, we're looking pretty good, but over the next couple of days, we could potentially see some more light smoke filter into the area, but I think we're all kind of enjoying the outdoors this evening, breathing in some good air finally. But, well, we've been pretty luckily here in the metro area pretty much all summer. It's been a different story throughout parts of the central and southern part of the Willamette Valley, especially over in Lane County, just east of Eugene, where they continue to see those wildfires burn out of control. But as we wait to see what happens over the next couple of weeks for the potential of a return of some smoke and haze, it's important to be prepared.
The one thing that's almost a guarantee with our summers here in the Pacific Northwest,
and that's just the nature of this time of year in the Pacific Northwest, and we have wildfires on the landscape.
Thick smoke pouring in from wildfires that burn out of control. So far this summer, we've been pretty lucky.
When we have had bad air quality, it hasn't been too continuous. There has been breaks throughout the day.
But this past weekend was a different story as smoke from Washington and Canada moved into the area. At one point, the entire valley was under the unhealthy category, the worst we've seen this summer. Or it has been particularly tough the last several weeks, Lane County in the Eugene area.
We've had a lot of air quality impacts across Lane County and even the greater state of Oregon due to wildfire smoke.
As more wildfires burn across the state, Travis Knutson with the Lane Regional Air Protection Agency says there are ways to prepare in case we see a change in wind direction that turns our blue skies into gray skies.
So the first step is to just be informed of what the air quality is and then be ready to take action when air quality starts to be impacted from wildfire smoke.
The second is preparing inside your home.
Doing things like closing doors and windows. If you have an air purifier, getting that out and turning that on. A good place to put those purifiers is the room you will be spending most of the time in.
Knutson says it's also a good idea to take a day off from any outside workouts when conditions look like this.
When you're breathing really heavily and you're breathing all that bad air quality in, the health detriments from that real big exposure to the poor air quality might not be as helpful to your health.
Now, David and Laurel, it's important to point out that the west side of the state is looking good in terms of the air quality, but you go on to the central and eastern side of the state, it's a different story, as smoke and haze from parts of Washington and Canada are still just sitting over that part of the state. Hopefully it'll clear out a little bit over the next couple of days. Reporting live in downtown Portland, Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
I know, I was in Bend and Sun River this weekend. It was just terrible. Thank you, Joe. Coming up.